Hey everybody, welcome into the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. This is the practice report brought to you by Byers Auto. That's Tim May, that's Jeremy Birmingham, I'm Austin Ward. Yes, the number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes play a game on Saturday at Rutgers. Lettermen Row will cover it, of course, but it's the second week in a row where the dominant storyline is happening off the field for the Buckeyes. Chase Young got his official word today from the NCAA. He will miss only one more game for the Buckeyes, be held out, suspended, whatever term you want to use. Chase Young is coming back for the Buckeyes. It won't be in time for this hotly anticipated game against the Scarlet Knights, but the biggest news for a team in the college football playoff race is the best player in America will be back, Tim.
Yeah, I just wonder if the reaction at Rutgers today, in the locker room was, oh my goodness, don't have to face that guy. Meanwhile, we're out here talking to Tyler Friday and Javante Jean-Baptiste, one of the great names ever in Ohio State football, and they're all champing at the bit because I was talking about this on a pregame show last week on 97.1 The Fan. Is that everybody feels for Chase Young, but the guys who want to play, these guys all want to play.
How are you even continuing with this guy?
I don't know. I don't even know what he's laughing at.
I don't know.
He thinks he's got the best French accent.
Yeah.
And I can't say Nicolas Petit Frere correctly.
And all I wanted to do was go, when you said Javante Jean-Baptiste.
You did do that.
I know, but I didn't mean to.
He was going to say Frappuccino, but he couldn't think of it.
Chase Young is back, Berm.
Yeah, Chase Young's back, and you missed a beautiful early segue when you should have said the number 2 Buckeyes, but that number 2 isn't the most important number 2 in the news today. Austin missed that one. I'm sorry, everyone.
Usually I wait till the end of the show before I lose control, and now it's happening.
It's huge, obviously, for Ohio State to get Chase Young back, even if it's not this week. He was only going to play a quarter this week anyway, if that, so who cares?
I'm keeping a straight face.
The reality here for the Buckeyes is that, as you said, the best player in the country is going to be back and playing for the team that's been indisputably the best team in the country all year long. I don't care what.
Indubitably. Go ahead,
indubitably. You just cracked the can there.
Or as the French say, indubitably.
Indubitably. But no, the truth is for Ohio State, it doesn't matter for this week. They weren't going to play him much if he was eligible. It does obviously set up a huge matchup against Penn State and the Michigan and then the Big Ten championship game. And those teams are obviously probably a little bit more annoyed than the people here are.
Well, and you look at it, trying to dive into some of these conspiracy theories. Gene Smith was available before the Buckeyes tonight, and you know that Ohio State wanted to get ahead of all this conversation about what exactly happened over the last 2 weeks. First and foremost, it didn't come from Maryland. It didn't come from Penn State. No team in the Big Ten turned this into Ohio State's attention. Gene Smith did not say specifically who it was, but I think you can gather a lot of information about the nature of what happened here just by ruling out those people. We have not speculated on any of this. That's not our place. We
almost did. But
we've been trying. Yeah, we've been trying to keep this, present the facts as we hear them, and the words that we hear, the speculation we hear, as close to the reality as the situation as possible. And that was, Tim, while you and I talked on your podcast, while we talked last week on Friday, that this was likely going to be 2 games because Ohio State, they knew where the money was coming from, they knew that it was paid back, and now this matter is resolved in a way that they can move forward.
And not only that, but when they confronted Chase Young with that knowledge, he immediately, they didn't know he had paid. But he immediately, mea culpa. What's the word there?
He fessed up.
There's got to be some kind of French word there I'm leaving out, but he fessed up, exactly. An old Wild West word. He fessed up. And to me, that's as remarkable right now, because usually it's somebody else's fault, whatever happens to you in this day and age. He stood up and fessed up, and he took his punishment. And, what is right in this situation? I don't know. He did break a rule. I think most people know that rule, but I think in his own mind, as we talked about before, he took the loan, he paid back the loan.
That's fine.
Where's the problem? But the problem is you took the loan, and there's never a guarantee you pay it back.
And that's, Gene Smith made that point as well, that, Chase Young was going to miss a game. When they applied here, they had the potential to appeal this down from 2. When they sent it to the NCAA, he said he's missed a game. We think he should come back right now.
Right.
That's the max. I know there's been a lot of people speculating elsewhere all over the map. Was it going to be 4? Could Ohio State have to vacate wins? No.
4 could have been the max in this deal.
Well, but they could have taken it further if it was truly bad. And that's, I think, been lost in this speculation that it was never a situation where Ohio State was concerned. It was that level. There was the possibility of 4. But when the NCAA looked at it, they said 2. Ohio State could have fought that. They did not. They chose not to. Chase Young would have had to, I think, probably appear before some people in Indianapolis or
Sure.
get on a FaceTime to make his case. But it's Rutgers, so Ohio State said, you know what? To heck with that. Chase Young said, that's fine. I'll take my punishment, and I'll be back for the games that matter.
Yeah, it's what we talked about on Saturday after the game. There's so much semantics involved here that aren't really important in the big picture. What is important is that the NCAA, Ohio State, the people involved clearly believed what Chase Young presented to them as evidence, and I think that they don't believe that unless that evidence is pretty easily corroborated, and it's over, you know? So
Yeah.
I think people, of course, on the internet are going to continue this whole sleuthing thing and try to find out who done it. Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter to Ohio State. It doesn't matter to the NCAA at this point.
Well, it doesn't matter to Ohio State or the NCAA because they know who it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's best if people just leave it alone, don't speculate, and let Chase Young move on, let Ohio State move on, and try to run for a national championship.
The key player in this whole thing, though, pardon the expression, player, was Chase Young, though, because if he had denied it, you know, then
Sure.
you get into a lengthy investigation because this person is saying, whoever it was, that you did this. Probably didn't indicate that he paid it back, but that you did this. That was their knowledge. There was intent there to, you know, disrupt things, for want of another term. Why 8 games into the season it was suddenly a hot issue is anybody's conjecture.
Well, I mean, you can speculate on.
Exactly.
He all of a sudden became the number 1 guy in the Heisman race.
Yeah, or
and
one of the top 2.
And somebody wanted to, you know, ruin that.
And plus, Ohio State was the number 1 team in the college football playoff, et cetera. So, you know, you can go down any kind of rabbit hole there chasing it. But when the guy involved says, yes, this happened, and by the way, I paid it back, and by the way, I have proof that I paid it back, it kind of takes all the sting out of it. And then you just have to go about basically taking your punishment.
And the secondary part to your most important point about the key player here is that Chase Young wants to come back.
Right.
If there was a violation and he didn't want to admit to it, then the second that he decided he was ineligible or was told he was ineligible, then he could have been a millionaire the next day and signed an endorsement deal and moved on to the NFL as Jerry Hammock leaves the facility.
And Mike Bassford, who's a much quieter guy.
Those guys have had a few days to work through all this and respond, and they were able to, you know, get all this information out to us today, so we can move on and focus on Rutgers here for the rest of the practice report brought to you by Byers Auto. On the field, I don't know that there's anything truly pressing. Of the guys that we've talked to, Ohio State rolled out a bunch of younger people that are going to be involved on Saturday. I'm just going to ask you guys both who you're most impressed with to hear from, because somebody for me that we don't hear from a lot is Chris Chuganoff. He really kind of stole the press conference on Tuesday, but we heard from a bunch of people that we don't normally hear from. Who fits that bill for you, Tim?
Chris Chuganoff, because, you know, the whole line was that if Justin Fields gets hurt, Ohio State's in trouble. Is Chris Chuganoff on that level? No.
Yep.
He even knows. He even refers to Fields as the freak.
Freak, yeah.
And so he understands where he fits. But anybody who's watched Chuganoff play this year has seen a guy who could sling the ball. I mean, he can throw the ball. Is he a runner like Justin Fields? No. But it was so imperative. You know, things have really worked out. We're talking to Harry Miller. Harry Miller didn't expect to play as much. Jean-Baptiste didn't expect to play as much. Didn't expect to play as much as he's played this year. Yeah. The benefits of that are ridiculous, and they're paying off. As we talked about on my podcast, they're paying off when you need a guy like Jean-Baptiste or Tyler Friday to get into games. They're proven. You know, they can get in there and play. Same with Chris Chuganoff, and you know, that's just been almost a godsend to get a backup quarterback who wasn't even here 2 years ago, some playing time behind arguably one of the top quarterbacks in the country. I'm sure people at LSU would argue that point. Sure. But I would put Justin Fields in the running with the top 3.
Yeah. Who would you like hearing from?
I mean, I'm glad that everyone else got an opportunity to hear from Harry Miller a little bit. Obviously, covering him in recruiting, I've gotten to know kind of who he is, and he's a really interesting dude. Like, I think that he's the type of player and person that people just are interested in hearing from because he has a very unique world perspective on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
You know, but to me, I think it's really important, and we talked to him on Tuesday, is Josh Meyers, who continues to sort of evolve into this role that he was never comfortable in before, which is as a vocal leader, following in the footsteps of Pat Elflein and Billy Price and those guys who really are stepping up and saying, hey, if something goes wrong, I'm accountable, I'm the guy, and you know, I think that to me is the one guy who continues to impress me. And when you think about the offensive line, all the problems and questions we've had heading into this year, the Buckeyes are playing Rutgers on Saturday, one of the worst teams in college football. And tonight, that offensive line got their butt chewed out by Greg Studara post-practice and was forced to do extra work, essentially. Yeah. So clearly, it's not a group that's resting. And I think that for Ohio State fans, that's something they should love to see.
And don't you agree that Josh Meyers might be playing as well as any center in the country right now? Am I wrong about that?
That's always
I know it's
always a hard one to answer because
right.
The one I watch every week is him. I would try and compare it mainly to what I saw from Billy Price and Pat Elflein the last couple of years. Those guys won the award that was voted on people who see him all over the country. I think that Josh Meyers is playing at a Remington Trophy level.
3 weeks ago when they played Wisconsin repeatedly had maybe the best center. I thought Josh Meyers was the gang leader up front for Ohio State. Now, it didn't help the center from Wisconsin, Devon Hamilton, was in his face all day. Yeah. But, if you're the best.
That's part of being a job, right?
Exactly. And I'm just making a case for I just think he's playing extremely well. I mean, and the other thing is, and this will be knock on wood because they'll probably jinx him, he's been almost flawless with his snaps. I mean, for the most part. I mean,
one that got away from Fields, but it was I thought a pretty good snap.
And I said almost, yeah, exactly. And just that is just an indication of how well he's playing. But he's the gang leader up front. He's the guy that gets the calls. He's the guy that disagrees with Justin Fields on calls sometimes from a blocking standpoint, a pickup standpoint. But as he said, the tie always goes to the quarterback. But the bottom line is, I think he's playing extremely well. It's a guy you don't get to talk about very much. And the other guy who we got to talk to tonight, who had to be, I don't know, disappointed may not be the right word, but Gavin Cupp was challenging to be that left guard this year. And then in comes who?
Yeah.
Jonah Jackson from Rutgers, who they're playing on Saturday. That's the guy you'd really like to talk to this week.
Exactly.
But Gavin Cupp's out there, playing his rear end off, and I'm sure is looking forward to extended action again in this coming game.
It's interesting that Byrne brought up these reps down here in the corner of the Woody for the offensive line. Is these guys are trying to get meaningful reps, and they just can't get as many as they would hope to against Maryland and Rutgers. Live speed game reps, and so I think that's probably an example of something we've talked about all year through 9 blowouts for Ohio State is how do they keep that sharp focus, because they haven't been in 4-quarter battles really. How do you make sure that you're ready when the time comes? Because look, this team is on a collision course with the college football playoff. There's no, they could potentially even lose and still get there the way this is shaping out. I don't think that they will, but you look at it, at some point they're going to face someone with comparable talent. So how do you challenge yourself when the only question on Saturday is if you score 100 points?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it all comes down to the guy in charge of it, and that's what Gene Smith said. After all the talk about Chase Young was done today, he said Ryan Day's a stud. This is a guy who is, again, I've said it a number of times in the last year plus, he's aced every single test that he's had to pass so far. Yeah. I don't think there's any reason to doubt that he will have this team psychologically ready for that game whenever it does come. If it's 2 weeks from now against Penn State or in Ann Arbor or against Wisconsin again or against Clemson or Oklahoma or anybody. I mean, there's been such a unique focus out of this group. And
here's what they've done a great job of, though, and you guys know this. Like Kevin Wilson said, he looks forward to Tuesdays and Wednesdays more than he does almost game day, because Tuesdays and Wednesdays are like. Yeah. They are like against like.
The best players in the country.
It's ones against ones. I mean, I'm talking with Harry Miller there at the end of practice today, and just the benefit of going against Devon Hamilton, who's playing as well as any interior defensive lineman in the country right now. Yeah. And look at how that steel sharpens steel, so to speak. That's what stands out about this team. They are getting their licks in, but like you said, I keep saying this. No coach. Nick Saban didn't go to bed on Friday night in Tuscaloosa last week going, man, I hope this goes 4 quarters. And you know what I mean?
Yeah,
of course you saw Alabama getting in the shootout.
Yeah, and they had to go 4 quarters, and first time all year they lose. So
it didn't work out for them. All right, guys, quickly before the Woody gets some more use from a different team out here, score predictions for Saturday afternoon.
What's the spread now? 52 as we speak? 53 keeps going up. Why it's not 60, I don't understand. But I can see Ohio State getting above 60 again, because I think the backup offense, I just keep thinking about how Master Teague III runs, how DeMario McCall got after last week, and Marcus Crowley, if he's, we're all waiting to see if he's available. I just think it's just going to keep on running, especially after that meeting the backup line had at the end of practice today, that certain expectations are there. So I could see them shutting them out, and I could see something in the 63-0 range.
63-0 from Tim. Berm.
49-0.
Wow.
He's got a bold prediction coming on Friday.
Wait a minute, he needs to explain that.
No, it's coming on Friday. Stay tuned for his bold,
49-0.
for his bold prediction on Friday morning.
Because it's going to get cold as the game goes through, and they'll.
You just have to wait and read it, Tim.
That's called a teaser, Tim. We got to save it till Friday morning.
Okay.
And I don't even save mine anymore. My game pick on Saturday, it's going to be 91-0. So
91
to nothing.
You know what? Here's the thing. Before you go,
Do you mean that?
Here's the thing.
I mean it.
Here's the thing. That is possible.
I know.
It is possible.
That's the scary thing.
I mean, they scored 73 on Maryland. I think Maryland's got a few players.
They got some.
This is the most complete team in the country. Yeah, we're heading out of here, getting the word right now, so I won't even explain it.
That was Ed Terwilliger, ladies and gentlemen.
91-0.
Best team in the country against the worst is happening on Saturday. We are just talking about Ohio State, Chase Young, and the rest. We'll have that full coverage from that as we head to New Jersey this weekend. This, though, has been the practice report brought to you by Buyers Auto. Tim May, Jeremy Birmingham, I'm Austin Ward. We'll see you next time.